tough. I'm not gonna come on here sad, Birdie. Just another stepping stone. You know, when the good days are good, the bad it's even worse. The bad days are so bad that you're not even mad, you're just sad. But you are glad that it gets to end. You know, when the day starts, you want it to end. But it's what you become at the end where you can make amends. Send it off. Ooh. I thought I was gonna come on here and just vent, but you don't need to vent. Sometimes people got it way worse than what you actually think. I'm blessed enough to eat, have clothes on my back, and have a roof over my head. And sometimes you gotta thank the people that do you wrong, but at the end of the day, they still looking out, in their own malicious, sadistic way. And I feel like it comes to a point where people have selective empathy to some people because they're doing the things that are, supposed to be done by others, So with that correlation, I tend to see that maybe you get, maybe if that a different feeling than others, right? It's the understanding of the perspective, not seeing the perception of yours, right? It's the correlation between true and I could yabber on about perspective and perception and how the world is seen in different values of all, but how I'm the product of my environment, and now I'm this, that, and the third, and how I don't love myself. But at the end of the day is still gonna end. You gonna wake up hungry and go to sleep hungry. You can wake up sad and go to sleep mad. It's always a time to figure out what you really had, to figure out what's the point of being sad. Not everything will come to fruition, and not everything is as simple as two colors. Not everything is simple as yin and yang, but not everything is simple as pain. Not everything is simple as staying sane. Not everything is about the shit that you see as your main. Not everything is what it seems. The seams of your suits, the seams of your hoodies, but at the end of the day, we all want to cook it. You know what I'm saying? Don't put me on that. Don't put me on that. But the way I see it, I don't know what to think, right? Everybody got their own struggle. Could be drugs, could be relationship, could be abuse, could be hunger, could be sickness. But my problem is myself. That's what everybody tells me, so I believe it. And it's not even everybody, it's just one person. But I guess maybe I put on a facade for others to make me seem like that I'm better than what I'm actually am. Maybe I'm not actually a so-called person, just a being that was created by two other creatures that didn't know what they were doing at the time. But I sit here and I don't diminish my character. I don't diminish myself because it's been diminished enough, I had a conversation with my mother. We went out to get some grub after washing some clothes at the laundromat. And we sat down and, ate, had a little conversation. But after we were done, she looked at me and then she asked me a question that it didn't hit home, but I heard it so many times from her. I always just answer, just blatantly, like, yeah. And she was like, do you love yourself? And I didn't think nothing of it at the time, so I just kept eating my fries. And she asked me one more time, and I was like, in my head, I said, I don't know. But out loud, I said, yeah, because you don't want to tell your mom How you're feeling, you know? Like, in my eyes, I'm not deserving of being sad. I'm not deserving of any emotion, you know? I sit at, you know, I sit here on my ass all day. I don't do shit. Don't do shit. Not at all. The YouTube don't mean shit. Me trying to work don't mean shit. Me feeding the homeless doesn't mean shit. It don't mean shit unless you tell somebody that it means something. Showing your character throughout, right? But I see the torment that my mother goes through, and I see the torment that the person that gives her the torment, they go through. I see the torment that person goes through. How stressful it is to be in his shoes, but evidently I don't excuse that for the things that he has done. I hold no hatred towards the being that created me. But the misconnect has always been there. Right? The misconnect has always will be there. I'm not going to question the person that had a part of my creation and be like, oh, I don't know him. It's not mine, you know. Our DNA is the same supposedly, so take it out it is. But I don't think that gains or gathers the issues as that is uphanded. You know, everything is a financial aspect of how we truly feel, and that's not only in the household of somebody that looks like me. It's in the household of anybody, no matter how you look or what your culture is. You know, but I won't let it break me though, because I've been broken since I was born. You know, I think my head was already. I knew I wasn't different. It was just that I displayed the same connotations of everybody else, but in my head, it wasn't there. You know, you just, when you're younger, you get to sum it up as imaginary friends and shit like that. But when you're older, it tends to look kind of suspicious. So just chalk it up to you talking to yourself. So I feel like I don't deserve. I wouldn't say deserve to live, but deserve to have any type of feeling since I don't do shit. You know? I've been called everything in the book just by existing, and I don't feel any pity for myself or the person that calls me that, because I know deep down their self-hatred is way stronger than how they feel towards me, you know? Somebody say they could love you, but don't show it at all, right? But it's always a misconnect. It's always who has the bigger chest battle. So it's pointing and choosing, picking and choosing when you want to say, when you want to keep, you know? And then it's either you're trying to be the victim or you claim to be the... Enough said. I think too many motherfuckers watch movies and think it's gonna get a happy ending, or you say cliche things to sum up the pain that's in your heart. You know, I see it. I definitely see it. And as I smile to hide the pain, it's just... as I smile to hide the pain, you know, the pain that I don't think I have enough leeway to even have. I wouldn't even call it pain. I think I just, just a spoiled being, you know. Do I think I'm spoiled? Maybe. I get to eat, sleep, do chores, and I get to live, you know. I don't have to worry about gunshots over my head anymore, worrying about if I can get off the bus without getting killed, you know. It wasn't that dramatic, but hey, when I feel down or where I feel like I'm being ungrateful, I tend to see other countries that's going through war. People younger than me dying left and right. And I'm like, why am I sad? I don't deserve to feel these emotions. But who am I to say that? Everybody will, tell you deserve to feel that. You're allowed to feel that. But I'm glad that I get to feel, because I used to be so-called numb. But everybody makes the what's it called? They make depression and sadness a plot device, a trend. They used it as a weapon, not to fix it. So with that, I see that you can't fix something that's not broken. If the so-called device was already a defect when it was created, how can you fix somebody? How can you fix something that cannot be replaced? The parts are reorganized and created in a different fashion than others. It's like an assembly line. Most of us was built so-called correctly, and then I was built off-putting. But I looked the part of being, or had all the extra function, but the defect was noticing it. But I always thought that shit was cringy to feel, not no tough nigga like, ooh, that rowdy shit don't. I was trying to figure out not what was wrong with me, but why did I feel that way, I didn't feel any violence. I didn't feel any hate towards the people that wanted me gone, or so-called wanted me to do better, but in the wrong line. I was more on the correlation of, how can I connect this person to what they say? You showed me otherwise. But it's always he say, she say, or you did this to me, or I did this to you. In the past, we pick up plot devices. It's an endless paradox. It's a paradox that you stock up. You stock up. You put up, you shut up, You stock up the shelves of memories and things that you realize that wasn't a thing that you can despise by, but you despise yourself trying to correlate things that you cannot be, It's not being a poet. It's not being somebody you aren't. It's not doing the sport you love. It's the passion of what you hold, right? But I don't do shit, so I don't mean it in a condescending way. I don't do shit. I look the part. You don't know what I do when I turn this camera off. I could be a whole villain. I could be murdering people right off, Right after this video, I might just disappear, No one cares until somebody brings it up, It's either you were good enough to be in the limelight, or you wasn't good enough to hold the limelight. You're uplifted or you die by it. But it's every correlation. As there's famish, pain, right? Me wanting to fix the world, but I'd still delegate myself into Americanized holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas, when we're celebrating shit that was stolen. But being too woke to the point where you're just doing it for shits and giggles and the attention of being so-called activists. Do you hold yourself to a different standard of those people that don't use it, that don't do it? Honestly. When I do, and when I can go to sleep, it's either a so-called, I wouldn't even call them a nightmares, because they're damn near every day, It's either I stay up until my body shuts down from the coldness, or I go to sleep with a nightmare of me trying to do something that was the right, but dying in the process. Or it's just something I intake that day and insert it into a so-called dream, I wouldn't call them dreams, more visions, an aberration of some sort. But I always thought this right here was never gonna be me, right? I was gonna live, work, die a sad man, or die a man that was married and unfulfilled. But you're not tested or compared or established until you have something materialized by the human psyche, not by human nature, but the things that we built to distract ourselves from death. Having a house, having good money, having good clothes, having something sustainable, right? Something solid that you can touch, not the key of your mind, not the intelligence you hold, Yeah, intelligence is a plus, but they don't care. They only care the things they can see, what you can be, not that you're free, right? But I think the illusion of freedom is what that it's like. It's next to be. It's the Ken. It's the Ken, not the doll Ken, but the Ken of who you are. You know. But as some people ramble on like me, you won't understand everything that I say. Some things are just not meant to be. If you didn't hear it the first time, it wasn't meant to be heard. But sometimes some people are just misunderstood. But how could you? You're so far from hood, but you must took things that you would have had if you could. You know, I don't know, bro. I made a video when I was very very happy when I started this, right? I was making music. Still haven't posted, no autotune. I was making music. And I was like, I'll never get on camera and cry about my life situation because I won't. There's no point. And I said, I'll never get on camera to beg me. And I said, I'd rather sell my body than do that. I'm still holding that. I'm still holding it. But how it's looking, I'm been trying to find a place, but you need at least 6 months of recorded history of you working to get a place. So say if you gain bread online and it wasn't 6 months, it's harder to get clarified. That's what my mother told me. It's hard to get clarified for a place to live. I can't be here, not because I'm mentally distraught or I feel unheard or I feel like I'm going to get hurt again. I can't be here because it's not the place I was supposed to be. South Carolina is not the place I'm supposed to be. I want to be free, but you can't be free without laws. You can't be free without things that's placed on us. You can't be free without being a slave first to your mind or body. You got to do something. You have to sacrifice your use for something that's greater than you. So you choose what it is. It's either a 9 to 5, you become a manager, you become a big CEO, but you still don't feel fulfilled because you know everything you do will get killed. Being remembered doesn't hold any type of poise or any type of longevity because the reason you do it is not for yourself. You do it for the so-called others that see you for you. Just take it all in, shut up, and keep it pushing, bro. But it comes in waves. Highs and lows. But I feel like there's no such thing as just keep feeling one emotion for multiple days. Like, you know, you can't. How can you be crazy? As a human, you're supposed to feel multiple emotions throughout the whole day. You can't just feel numb because of the mundane things you do every day. You tend to stray away from the things you lay down. You pick up that black and mild and you put on a smile. But I know everything in your world is upside down. But rather than frown, go around town singing loud how you're the best in the house. Don't hate. Don't hate what you create. Don't hate what you procreate. Don't hate what you date. Don't hate. It's just fate. Smoke it. Smoke it well. Smoke it until you come to the fruition that you have failed. But at least since you fell, you knew you flew. But not flown. Not close. Not close enough to see that this wasn't meant to be, but you see that what the things you created are the things that will come to your so-called tender line. Not your end, your tender line. Your tender line. Each word may be looked up. Each word may be different, but Each word won't be misheard if you understood the things you could. Under my hood, as I write each joke, each hoax. I put the hood on as I walk through the neighborhood. I get tapped on my shoulder, headphones in, and then bam, I'm gone. Gone. Put in another song by some famous rapper or singer about how he was just walking along. But I see the coonery and all for each song, for publicity, for marketing, for this. Nobody's perfect, so don't play. Don't be a bitch. Don't figure out which is which before you get that switch. Not that switch, but that like switch. That switch in your head that gets you that idea, that light bulb that tells you to do it instead. But you misread. You misread the manual, so now you don't understand how it goes. You're watching everything flow by, but at the end of the day, it's nothing to say. It's nothing to say. It's nothing to say. Only thing you can do is just pray. Maybe if that works. But don't get hurt trying to flirt. Trying to flirt with the things you want. People are scared to push the things they don't understand because they might get locked up. Break the rules too many times, then you be the fool. It's either living long enough to become the madman or you was always the madman. A madman and a sad man are the same person. You just can't tell because they react differently. But we're doing good. We're doing good. We're keeping that big smile. Keeping that big smile. That big smile. Because I don't want to see my mama see my smile turn into a frown. So I switch it upside down every once in a while. So she knows that I'm okay. So she don't have to pray. Because I know the mental illness may stay. It may stay. It may linger. It may linger, but don't put that finger on that trigger. Because when you pull it, it may all go away, but you won't stay. Anyway, that is a couple of pages of how I think. Not one word was off a book or off a hook or off what I wrote. This was all top of the noggin. It's great to see the world in a different limelight, but everything is seen as cringy and corny if it doesn't seem right, so go up there and test your might. You might get in a fight. You don't know who you fighting, yourself or the beings that see you as something else. Just remember, as older and older you get, the things you do in your past will be cringier and cringier. So might as well do it while you're young and dumb. But don't sum it up to be numb. I don't know if I'm ready to just give it up. Because I'm going to show before my mom's in the dirt that I was something. You know, I was something. Something that was better than what he says I am or what I am. You know, no structure. This, that, and the third. Everything being misheard. You're only seeing every insult in the constructive criticism that you heard from the things that put you... But you're disturbed. You're disturbed of the things that you heard. And you wish you misheard the things that were so-called. Don't waste your breath. Figure out what's next. Is it a step? What was a step? And that's my time. But I'll be back like I never left. But just guess what's next.